If you're an existing customer with a paid license, the domain screen is by default the screen you should see when you log into the DMARC Manager. If this is not the case, you may need to verify you're located in the correct space and click on the first icon labeled domains located under the sheep to access the list of domains. By default, you will see the expert view. The expert view contains two tables, one specific to SPS, one specific to DKIM. Let's first focus on the SPF table. Here you will see a list of all domains that are being monitored in this space. If you do not find in this table the domain you are focusing on, you may be required to either check if the domain is located in another space, don't forget to check the inbox, or add the domain to this space by clicking on the button labeled Add Domains and enter one or more domains in the dialog box. In this table, you will find a list of all domains being monitored in this space. The icon in front of the domain will give you access to the 30-day volume of a given domain. The 30-day volume is based on 30 complete days of reporting and therefore not includes the reports with yesterday's or today's date. The second icon will show you the DMARC record published on this domain in our checkers. The column protected will provide information regarding the level of protection of the domain. In other words, the shield will color red if the domain has a published DMARC record with a P equals none or P equals quarantine policy, or when no valid DMARC record is found in the DNS of the domain. The shield will color green if the domain has a published DMARC record with a reject policy. The next column shows the 30-day reported volume. This is based on the 30-day of complete reports and therefore not include reports from today or yesterday. The compliance column provides insight on the DMARC compliance of the 30-day volume traffic. By hovering over the donut, you will get the numbers of email reported and its percentage of emails reported with a full DMARC alignment, a DMARC alignment with DKIM only, a DMARC alignment with SPF only, or the no alignment. The DMARC states provide information on the DMARC record published in the DNS of the domain. If the label colors red, it means that there is a corrective action required on the DMARC record to remove the error. If the label colors yellow, it means that there is a room for improvement, and to remove the warning, you may consider the guidance provided in the info box displayed when hovering over the DMARC state tile. If the label colors green, it means that the record published is well syntax. Please note, if the DMARC policy is inherited from the organizational domain, the DMARC state will show this has been inherited. Let's now focus on the column specific to SPF. On the SPF domain, you will find all aligned SPF domains that are reported in the DMARC data received. The SPF states provide information regarding the termination of the record, min all or tilde all, and the state will color yellow if there is an improvement available and in red when the SPF contains an error or an invalid mechanism. Moving on to DKIM, the first 5 columns remain the same. The column labeled DKIM domain provides information on which DKIM domain is used by the DKIM selector to send email. The DKIM states will provide information regarding the DKIM selector. If it's green, the record published is correct and you are using a 2048-bit cryptographic key. If the record is yellow, it means that the record can be improved to comply with the DKIM RFC, or that you may need to consider rotating the key for a higher bit rate. If the state is red, it could mean that there is a syntax error in the record published, or that the record is simply missing from the DNS. On each of those two tables, so SPF and DKIM, there is a contextual menu located at the end of the domain row. This will give you access to the domain details, the sender manager of the given domain, the SPF manager of that given domain, option to stack, group, move, or delete domains. On the SPF table, the option to remove unique or multiple SPF domain. On the DKIM table, the option to remove unique or multiple DKIM domains. Via this menu, there's also the possibility to add a note on the domain. Okay, additional information can be added to the tables via the menu located on the right-hand side of the domain column. This includes the total stacked volume. If you decide to stack all subdomains under the organizational domain, you will then see the 30-day volume of the total stacked domains. The DMARC policy published, this can be either reject, quarantine, none, or empty. Empty if there are no DMARC records found. The DMARC type indicates the type of record used for the DMARC policy. This can be either TXT or CNAME. If there is a green tick next to CNAME, it means that the record is managed via the DMARC Manager application. DMARC NX domain inform you if a non-existing domain is used. Group will give you in which group you have placed this domain within a space. Now, if you look at the additional information specific to SPF, you've got the SPF primary MX domain, the SPF primary NS, and the SPF NX domain. Same applies for DKIM, where you can view the DKIM primary NS and the DKIM NX domain. And finally, the column that shows if a note has been added via the contextual menu to the domain. Please note it is also possible to filter on each of the columns present in the domain summary. Okay, the second icon located on the domain feature is the groups. So as previously mentioned, via the contextual menu, it is possible to move domains in different groups in the application. If you wish to add a group, you can do so by clicking on the button, but you will have to type the name and declare if it a non-sending group or a sending group. So basically, if you place in this group domains that are not meant to be sending emails, you can then click this option. Okay, there is a possibility via the drop-down menu here to group the different domains or move them to a different space if your license allows you to do so. The domain summary can also be exported to an external destination for your internal reporting via this button. Let's now have a look at the easy view. You will find in this table the same information as in the expert view. There are some interesting features. If we look at the group type, for example, if it colors green, that means that the domain is in the correct qualification of the group. So for example, if you look at this domain, it is placed in a group marked as sending. However, there's no volume on it. So we are telling you via the yellow tile that there's a possibility to potentially move this domain to a different group. If we look at the group type, it will color green if the domain is set in a group declared as sending and if the domain has reported traffic. So it means that the domain is in the right group because the group is marked as a sending group. The group type can color yellow if the domain was placed in a group declared as sending and the domain has no actual reported traffic. The tile will color red if a sending domain is placed in a group marked as non-sending. Okay, moving on further into the application or into the table. The SPF domain will give you the number of aligned SPF domain used. By hovering over the SPF domain state or the SPF state, you will see more information about the domain in use. If required, you may click on details to visualize this information on screen. Same applies to DKIM domains. You will see here the numbers of DKIM's domains and selector being used. If there are any errors reported, it will be marked with a small bubble. And if you want to know more information, you can always click on details. That's it. If you do require any further assistance with any feature from the DMARC Manager, please feel free to contact our support team and we'll be happy to organize some time in order to explain to you these features via a online meeting. Thank you very much and have a good day.